Plate spinning, a fine art when it comes to merging companies. Next, on Bright Founders Talk by Temy, we have the CEO of HomeExchange, Emmanuel Arnaud, sharing how the startup world is not the glamour like it's shown in the movies, but a hard struggle and a never-ending challenge. He also shares with us the tips you need if you want to ever go through the merger process, why your revolutionary idea is just that until you prove to the world that it isn't, and how sometimes the hats you like to wear best have to be hung up. You're the CEO, and that involves some serious sacrifices. This and so much more on Temy's Bright Founders Talk. Enjoy.
Okay, guys, hello, and welcome back to Bright Founders Talk from Temy, an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Today, guys, we've got with us CEO of HomeExchange, Emmanuel Arnaud. Emmanuel, how are you? Hello.
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show, Matt.
Good. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming on. Let's start, Emmanuel. I really like to get to know the speaker that I'm speaking to first. And what I want to know is a little bit about you personally, which not many other people know about.
I'm the CEO of HomeExchange, married, 4 kids. I lived in France and the US quite a bit.
Wow, 4 kids. So by your name, I can see you're obviously originally from France. How long have you been kind of going back and forward?
Oh, I went to live first in the US when I was 1 year old with my family.
Oh, wow.
Then I did that for 3 years, came back to France, returned to the US as a student for 2 years and came back, and then went back to the US when we acquired our American competitor.
Interesting.
And integrated both companies. That was another 3 year stint and came back with COVID 2020.
Wow. Where would you say your home is?
My home is in Paris.
Nice.
I love the US. I have a big part of my heart over there, but my home is still in Paris.
Very, very nice. It is very interesting. I mean, I spent a lot of time away from the UK, but still, the UK will always be my home. Okay, let's get into the world of HomeExchange. Let's just start. What is, in a sentence, what is HomeExchange?
HomeExchange is the largest platform for you to be able to exchange your home with another human being on the surface of planet Earth for a week or two for your vacation.
Let's go right to the beginning. With your MVP, how did the MVP look right from the beginning?
Complicated aspect of my story is that I was a HomeExchange member when I first had the idea. HomeExchange being an American company that was started about 30 years ago. And I was dissatisfied with my ability to organize an exchange between Paris, where I was located, and Florence in Italy over New Year's Eve. And I came to realize that a number of people in Florence, their home was available and they were nice people who thought that I was a nice guy, but they didn't want to come to Paris. And so the exchange could happen because it was only reciprocal exchanges. And so that's how I had the idea of doing non-reciprocal exchanges. So with a point system where I contact you, I tell you, hey, I'd like to come to your home, and you can say no, or you can say, yes, I'll come to yours, or you can say, yes, you can stay in mine, and then you'll give me points, and I'll use those points to go somewhere else.
Interesting.
And so that's when I had the first idea for a company which I created in 2011, which was called Guesttoguest. And thanks to that new way of doing exchanges, we grew pretty quickly, acquired 6 competitors, among which HomeExchange, of which I had been a member. And we merged everything and rebranded under the HomeExchange brand. So,
interesting. And that was about five years ago, 2015, I
think.
Yeah,
we 6 years acquired them exactly 5 years ago in 2017, and we rebranded in 2018.
Nice. Why? Tell me. So you said you first had that kind of experience around 30 years ago, yeah? Is that what you said?
No. The company was started 30 years. So I started my company in 2011, but HomeExchange was started 30 years ago.
Okay. So when did you have that experience where you thought, okay, I'm not satisfied with my experience? And how long was that gap before you thought I need to do something about this?
I had that dissatisfying experience in December 2010, and the company was founded in April 2011. So 4 months.
Straight to business.
Pretty quick. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, at the time, I was looking for an idea to start a company, and there was a strong wave of sharing economy startups. I had never heard of Airbnb at the time, but it was couch surfing. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It was a community. So, and I was like, okay, this is a great concept, but they're not doing it properly. I'm looking for a business idea. Let's go with it.
Nice, cool. Tell me about that that kind of first idea. How did it look? How many people did you have working with you?
I was a solo founder, so I started on my own, and I paid an agency a bit like you guys. At a time, it was 40,000 euros to develop the MVP. Um, and I had friends and family who chipped in some money, but I was alone for quite some time until I had my first intern and my second intern, and then my part-time employee, and then grew.
Tell me about that. Tell me about that. That kind of, is it a loneliness at the beginning when you're doing it on your own, or do you kind of do you love that moment where you were doing it all on your own, creating and then seeing the steps building the company? Tell me about that beginning process.
So yeah, there were some lonely times. I had a son who had big health issues, and it's not easy when you're a solo founder and you have something in your personal life going on to keep the company afloat. So that was definitely a great bonus of having found a partner about 2 years afterwards. And I guess I really enjoyed the very first steps when decisions can be made very quickly, when there's a very small team. I don't really like when you're alone, but when you're like 3, 4 people and you're thrilled and you think it's the best startup ever, the greatest idea on earth, then that's really exciting. And when it's you're working on a dream. There's no reality. There's no angry customers or disappointing sales or whatever, and it's just you're trying to create something that people will like. And that's a really great feeling.
Let's speak a little bit more about that. So obviously we're talking about where you started and then you started to build your team after. So first of all, you're at, I think, around 70 people right now. Yeah.
We're getting close to 100.
Close to 100 now. Wow.
Yeah, we're a little bit bigger. Yeah, we had a good year.
Nice. Very nice. So what has been the hardest moment for you? That hardest stage from, it's a completely different experience from 1 to 10 to 20 to 40 to 40 to 100. What has been the hardest moment for you? Because obviously with time, you start to lose kind of the ability to control what is going on as such. The company gets bigger. You can't wear so many hats. What has been the hardest one for you, or the one you've enjoyed the most?
So the hardest was definitely that moment where I was solo founder and with problems at home that made it really difficult to keep the company, and that was really tough. And then the second hardest was after we merged to two companies. When we acquired HomeExchange, it was a company about 5 times larger than we were. And when we merged both companies, we made some poor decisions, or merging is a complicated process in any case. So pick your reason, but there was some instability. We had to part ways with a number of people who had been working for a long time for the company, and it was just like a rocky moment that was painful. So it was probably how do you call it? Teething, I think you say in English. When it's part of growing up. So it was part of a merge. I don't know if we could have, at least the manager I was at that time, I don't think I could have done a better job. But that was a complicated moment. And I guess, but COVID was a third complicated moment. But we were very lucky because compared to a lot of companies, we were in a financially very sound position, and we were able to maintain some revenue, but it's still an awkward position when you're in the tourism industry and the world can't travel. So those were the bad moments. And the good moments, I think there's a few landmarks. Then when we acquired HomeExchange was for us a game-changing event, and so I was proud of that. When we raised money, or I don't know, when there was this newspaper article that when your parents call you and then you sense that they're proud of that. That's the main objective of newspaper articles these days, because they don't drive any traffic. It's to make your parents proud. But besides that, I think the moments I like the most is when I'm working with people in my team on a new idea. I really like innovation, and I like those phases. And the second moment I like the most is probably talking with members who had a great vacation thanks to us. I mean, that really is meaning to what you do.
Makes you realize that you're doing it for a reason, really, and you're really helping people out. Tell me a little bit more about from going from this kind of 70 to 100 this year. What has been the challenge in this? Have you enjoyed this ride this year?
Yes, a lot. Actually, so we are founded in 2011, and HomeExchange was 30 years old. So we're sort of an old startup, and you read all the time these articles about this, 18-year-old who started the startup in his garage, and now they're 2,000 and they're worth a gazillion dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And our story has been a lot slower going and more tortuous. But this year has been surprisingly easy. I mean, people
Wow.
wanted to travel some more.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that we put in place during COVID, where we had sort of a slower pace, but we could work on topics and improving the product, etc., have come to fruition this year. And so I'm the CEO of a company who's growing with cash and who's profitable. So that's a very good place to be. And it's the first time for me that it's this easy. So
it's where you want to be, isn't it? Most
exactly. It's probably not where we're going to stay long. Life often throws you challenges, but it's a good
constantly.
place to be.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Constantly. Tell me a little bit. You mentioned about the merger. Yeah. And you said that the merger was a very difficult kind of thing to go through. Obviously, we've got lots of other founders listening to our podcast as well. And what could you be the things that people need to look out for this? What kind of advice could you give for the merging process?
Maybe just taking a step back, before the merger, there was a financing of the merger. And what we did is we needed to raise financing.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, we needed to acquire the target. And we did both simultaneously. And that's a mistake I won't do again, because you feel weak in your head talking to both parties. That is, you're talking to the investors and you're telling them, oh, yeah, of course, this target is secured. We're going to be able to acquire them. They're a great fit for us. And then you're talking to the target and they're asking you, do you have the money? And you're like, yeah, of course we have the money. But the truth is you don't have the money. And because
spinning
of that,
too many plates,
Yeah, spinning too many plates. And so feeling a bit uncomfortable or not strong in your head in both aspects. So I think if you're able to organize the process in a way that first you secure the financing and, the discussions that need to happen there. And then once you have the money, you're a lot stronger to negotiate properly the acquisition. So that's definitely a lesson I've learned. And then in terms of merging, I think I was naive around the difficulty merging two companies. Even, we had 20 something employees and we were acquiring a company with 70 something employees. And even at that scale, it's a big process to have
it's a big jump.
And to have people on both sides, the right kind of culture, like both cultures, to understand both cultures and to have the merge and to have a success out of the merger. So in the end, for us, it was a success in the sense that, now there's just one team in one company, one brand, and the brand is doing well. But I think it was a more painful process than needed to be. And if I had to do it differently, one of the learnings would be to have people in charge of making the merger a success who are not necessarily CEOs. Like, as a CEO, there's like not a lot of things that you need to take care of, and this was our most important topic that we were working on. And because it was our most important topic, we were very focused on it. But the truth is, we couldn't diverted resources and focus from our own company, and B, we couldn't dedicate enough resources to the new company compared to what it needed. And so I think that having people more in charge that would have not been us would have been a good idea, to have like a
chief negotiator kind of thing.
Not really the negotiation part. Like the negotiation part happened, and that's fine. I'm talking about really the merging of the cultures and the teams and all that. How do you organize that merging? Like, who takes the marketing decisions? Who the product? How do you have the product teams
big role
merge and all that? And so have somebody who's not you in charge of making that happen, I think, would be a good idea. And also I thought I was somebody who's very open and who listens a lot. Like that's how I perceive myself. And I think I underestimated my biases, that I was coming from one company. And even though I was trying to listen to the other, really understanding their culture and what was positive, for instance, about their product, I think I underestimated some aspect of things that their community valued and that they told us after they had, like, when we merged both websites until we kept only one. There's some features we had taken off because I thought they were that useful, and the community who was using those features pushed back a lot. So I think maybe I was not aware of my own biases.
Tell me a little bit more. Keep on to the kind of team part still at the moment. Talk to me about your CTO, because I saw, if I'm correct, so at the beginning you had maybe one CTO, and now a year later you had a different one, or did the CTO come on a little bit later? Because I think your CTO's name, Emeric, I think his name is, yeah?
So we had Emeric for, he was first a lead dev back and then a CTO. So he probably spent 5 years in the company, out of which 3 or 4 were as CTO.
Wow.
And he left the company maybe 6 months ago. And now we have Aldrich, so a pretty close name. So, I mean, there's nothing really special there. We had somebody who was great, and then we have somebody else who's doing a great job also. So
what was your, because I see from your history, you're obviously more kind of project management based, the business side of the industry, or are you kind of have you deep dived into the tech as well? What as a...
You mean me on a personal basis?
Yeah, you on a personal basis.
So yeah, my background is I did a business school, so I don't understand anything about technology. But until from 2011 to 2019, I was in charge of the product and the dev team. My partner was handling marketing, so that gave me some understanding. And so yeah, that's my background.
How important is it for a founder, basically? How important is it for founders to dive into the tech side, or should they be able to just kind of trust their CTO and everyone else? Do they need to get dirty, basically, their hands dirty?
I think that any founder, and even if you have a co-founder who's technical, should have a basic understanding of the technology, the challenges, and what's going on, and what the CTO job looks like. The same way that I strongly believe that any CTO founder should also have some understanding of the financial side or of the business side. That as a founder, you need to have a point of view and understand. So of course you got to educate yourself so that it becomes a smart or educated point of view. But you can't. At least I'm sorry, a founder of an internet startup. If you're a founder of a farm, you probably don't need the technical aspect as much. But your website exists thanks to developers, and what you'll be able to achieve and how you'll be able to modify it depends 100% of the dev team. So it's really important that you get the basics right and understand the challenges.
Talk to me. How would you describe your management style?
As a work in progress, I'm not very confident in my skills as a manager.
Interesting.
I think there's things that I do well. My fortes are probably more about having ideas, inspiring people, trying to look for a new adventure and convince people to come on board. And I think
Really important. That's a good skill.
Those are, but in one-on-one management, I don't know how relevant they are. And then on one-on-one management, I think I'm decent at listening and understanding the other person's needs. But there's a whole host of skills as a manager that I'm not very sure I have the skills, like providing structure. I typically have people who provide me structure in the sense that I have this idea, then I have that idea, and why don't we do this and why don't we do that? And so,
but isn't that the form of a great team, though? Isn't that the whole point, that everyone's got their kind of their advantages, people have got their benefits, their pros, their cons? Isn't that what a great team is all about?
I guess, yeah. In a great team, you want to have as much diversity and pros and cons as you were saying, but probably from a manager, you expect a form of structure and a form of clarity and objectives and consistency in the objectives that sometimes I think I can be my own enemy. And it's something that I'm working on myself, to be able to not go into too many directions at the same time. But I would think that as a manager, if you asked the people that I manage, oh, Emmanuel, is he good at providing structure? They would probably smile and be uncomfortable.
Nice. Interesting. I like your honesty here as well. Tell me, with your honesty, what has been the biggest kind of mess up moment that you've done building the app, building your business? What has been that moment which you really had to pivot and think, wow?
There's so many, it's hard to choose. Give me a second. I mean, I think you asked me about the most painful moments in the company, and I think to some extent is the one where the biggest mess ups happen. So um, maybe to dig deeper in the merge, what
Uh-huh.
we
Mm-hmm.
Guest was on a per transaction basis in terms of business model. So you
Mm-hmm.
join for free, but each time you do an exchange, you pay. And HomeExchange was on a subscription basis model.
Okay.
You pay a subscription, and then you do as many transactions as you want.
Mm-hmm.
And when we merged, we thought, oh, great, we're going to do a hybrid, which is going to be there's a transaction model,
Mm-hmm.
but given the way we price it, if you do more than X transactions per year, you're better off having a subscription. And so that will sort of have the best of both worlds. We'll be able to onboard people who are not ready to pay for a subscription. They'll go
Mm-hmm.
through the transaction phase. And then once they love so much a product, they'll go to the subscription phase. And the reality is that that was all very smart on paper, but didn't work out at all. And so it was really a mistake that we did. So a mess up, put it in your words, that we did with my business partner, because uh, it provided two types of challenges. One was we didn't know what we were selling anymore. So
Okay. Wow.
whenever you do marketing flows or whenever you do the customer journey and the website, you don't really know if you're
You
trying
didn't
to
like know
sell
what the
them.
core was.
Exactly. We didn't know if we were trying to sell them the subscription or the fact of doing an exchange because it was a transaction, and with the idea that after a
Mm-hmm.
number of transactions, they take the subscription. And so the flows weren't very clear. And even for us to look at the data was muddled from everywhere. So that was really complicated. And the second aspect of it is that turns out our customers are way smarter than us. So we thought of the way that they would use the product in a way that made sense for us. But for them, the people who were very heavy users on the Guest website, so on the per transaction model, well, they could switch to subscription from overnight, and so save a lot of money on their side, but reduce our sales. And
Mm-hmm.
contra and to the contrary, the people who were subscribers on the home exchange model, but not very heavy users, very light users, they could move to a transaction model and save some money there. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, for new members, our flow made sense, but for our existing database, which was recurring revenue, which was the blood of our company, it was not a good idea. So it took us about 6 months to realize, 3 months to
Interesting.
redevelop,
Wow.
and so
Uh-huh.
in October probably of that year, we launched a unified business model that had a different way of having the best of both worlds, which was you can join for free
Mm-hmm.
and send messages, but when you finalize your first exchange, you have to take a subscription. So that made it possible
Uh-huh.
for us to have the growth of a per transaction model while having the subscription and the
I guess,
uh,
sometimes
predictability.
it does have to have that. You said 6 months. It does have to have that time to see. You need the time to work out and test the waters as well.
Yeah,
So
exactly. When you have the benefit of hindsight, you're like, oh, what a
of
moron. I should
course,
have done it. I should have started with that. But
it's a wonderful, wonderful thing, hindsight. Absolutely.
yeah.
Tell me, what would be the advice you would give to other founders listening right now? What would be the advice you would give them, which perhaps you wish you had when you started out?
I guess the first thing I'd like to tell them, I don't know if it's an advice, but it's you're doing fine. I'm
Mm,
sure you're doing a great job. I mean, there's tons of people who
nice.
doubt you when you're a founder. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're a solo founder. There can be your significant others who says, "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Or friends who are like, "Oh no, but there's already
And
so
then you
many
think, oh,
competitors. It's not going to work." Yeah, or you've never done this before, or there's probably a reason nobody does it this way, or but you don't have any skills in that. And truth is, like, the world is full of great companies that were started by people who were completely incompetent, but who just had a good idea that they believed in and believed in themselves. So
and a bit of
I
luck.
know, yeah, look,
Mm-hmm.
that's true. And so I know I went through quite a number of phases where I doubted myself, or at least I know it's not easy when people challenge you and all you have is a PowerPoint and this idea to believe in yourself. So yeah, and I think that anybody who wants to make their idea come truth, or to succeed, by definition, needs to be very open and listening to other advice. So take the advice, but don't take the doubt. That's what I
Yeah,
would say.
I guess that's it though. But it's listening to that advice, but also not allowing that you're saying that people doubt on you. Yeah, sometimes. So also
Exactly.
not allowing them to say, this is not a good idea. But maybe sometimes that's a good thing that they say this is not a good idea.
Yeah, because exactly, there's a lot of good ideas didn't sound like very good ideas in the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah, very true. Tell me, what have you had to sacrifice for your success? Has there been
Hmm.
any kind of sacrifice that you've had to make? Free time, work-life balance?
Um, I don't know if it's a sacrifice, but one of the challenges as a CEO is that you have to redefine your role perpetually.
Uh-huh.
And you have to define it not based on what you enjoy doing, but what on the company needs.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Hard.
yeah, so for instance, I really like product. I really like the idea of designing and challenging and thinking of the specs and where the button should be and what the flow should be.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's what I did in the beginning. But after, I don't know, 3, 4 years into the adventure, it was clearly that we needed professional skills doing that, and that it was not my job. And at the beginning I was doing everything because I was solo founder, and the number of things I'm doing has kept on diminishing. But not, it's not that I'm working this. It's just that before I was doing a bit of customer service, a bit of product, a bit of etc. And then gradually it became more about spending time with lawyers and investors, and then about acquiring other companies.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a different kind of job. But a lot of the things that I like to do, I'm not doing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the thing that's really a sacrifice for me is the relationship to employees. This was not my first job. Before I was just an employee in other companies, and 2 other companies, and I had colleagues, and we would go out for lunch and then become friends, and I don't know, spend weekends or vacation together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when you're a CEO, I think I have a good relationship with a lot of people in my company, but having lunch together during work times, that's fine. Going to having drinks sometimes after work, or doing the seminar and getting drunk and dance together or whatever, that's fine. But would they really invite me at home for dinner out of the professional context? Would I really invite them at home? Probably not, because the truth
Mm-hmm.
is, in some cases, I had to part ways with some employees, and it's
Mm-hmm.
awkward to have the boss. And
So there
part
has to
of
be that line.
yeah, and it's not really a choice that you have, and that
Mm-hmm.
I really like people. I like being around people, and that for me is a sacrifice.
Interesting. I guess it's a very hard line to draw as well, isn't it? Because you don't know where the borders really stop and where to stop sometimes. But I guess with
Yeah, and
experience it
it's
comes.
and it's probably cultural. I'm sure it's different in Ukraine than it is in France than it is in the
Yeah,
US, and I'm
true.
sure it's also based on the personalities. I'm sure a lot of people don't really live that experience that as a sacrifice, and there's probably people who are more laid back than me who are able to be buddies with their employees. But in my case, it's not something that I've been able to manage.
Interesting. Okay. Last question for you. Tell me, HomeExchange, where's it going? What's the future for HomeExchange?
So, HomeExchange, there's a lot of things going on at HomeExchange. It's growing quickly, the company. We
Mm-hmm.
think that the post-COVID world is uh, is good news for HomeExchange. So there's a lot of bad news in the post-COVID world, but
Mm-hmm.
some of those, even the bad news, are good news for HomeExchange, in the sense that, for instance, inflation and the need to make savings is a strong incentive to consider something like HomeExchange, where you pay
Yeah. Mm.
175 bucks a year, and then you have to pay for accommodation when you're traveling. So we generate really big savings. Also, what I was sharing about the environmental impact of travel, sustainable tourism, I think a lot of people are being more and more aware, because the effect of global warming is more and more visible in the world, that they need to find new ways of traveling, and HomeExchange can be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's strong growth for HomeExchange. We launched HomeExchange Collection, which is sort of our VIP, our premium offering, for people with amazing homes,
Was that
because we
quite
know that
recent?
that's about a year old. We have
Mm-hmm.
close to 400 members on the
Oh, wow.
website. And so there's a different process. Everybody is sort of welcome on HomeExchange, whereas on HomeExchange Collection, you have to send pictures of your home and answer some questions so that we verify that it's the right kind of standard. But we had noticed that people with really, really nice homes were often flooded with requests for exchanges on HomeExchange and struggled to find homes which were at the same level than their own. So that's why we created that.
I like a tier system kind of thing, yeah?
A little bit, but there's just 2 tiers. But yeah, exactly. And yeah, and we have a lot of other projects that I can't talk about right now, but I hope you'll hear about them soon.
Nice, very, very nice. It's been so interesting to actually speak to you. And actually, like I said, I wanted to pick your brain right at the beginning. And that's exactly what I've done, Emmanuel. So thank you very much for your time today. Thank you for coming onto the show. And for sure, this is going to be very useful for the other founders listening to our podcast.
Thanks, Matt. It was been a pleasure.